This memo is a story, and Margot Cleveland is fantastic at her work. She does work over at the Federalist, Professor Margot Cleveland. It's the memo that you always know existed. You were aware of this from the very, very beginning. You knew that there was bias. You knew that people were not actually doing their job in the judiciary. You knew this. Well, this memo confirms that story, and I've got more weird audio than I know what to do with. Guys, that is, I don't know if you can see it right there. Can you see it right there? Can you see it right there? That's the aging room in Connecticut right there. Had a salad for lunch. I'm not proud, but this seemed to go with it better than something a little heavier. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But it's my cigar. I'll do what I want. Welcome to the show. Let's get it going. So there is a memo that states that you understood everything from the very beginning. It's some excellent, excellent work that exists out there from Margot Cleveland. I've had Margot on the show before. It has been a while. She does work over at the Federalist. This is excellent stuff. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything over at TonyKatz.com. Exclusive, writes Margot Cleveland over at the Federalist. Memo reveals DC judges are predisposed against the Trump administration. Now, there's nothing in what I just said that you weren't already aware of. Yes, we know. These judges are indeed biased against the Trump administration. We're fully aware. I know you're fully aware. You know you're fully aware. But it's very often important to have the facts. It's important to have the totality of the story. In this story, you learn the depths of how this went along. You learn, quite literally, how they were moving and maneuvering in order to keep you from being able to have the kind of administration that you voted for. Here's how the story breaks down. The judge in question is Judge Boasberg. You're like, wait a second, I know Judge Boasberg. This is the DC District Court judge? This is the judge who said, well, I don't know if the White House could do X, Y, or Z. Nationwide injunctions, please. Boasberg is amongst that class of judges who are like, well, we'll decide whether or not the executive branch gets to be the executive branch. We're the judiciary. Boasberg is amongst the judges whose Chief Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson believes should be part of this empirical or imperial judiciary. He was at an event in Washington, D.C., members of the Judicial Conference. And they have two regular meetings. The Judicial Conference, as Margot Cleveland writes, is the national policy making body for the federal courts. Seems like a pretty big deal, if you ask me. It consists of the Chief Justice, who is John Roberts, as well as the Chief Judge of each judicial circuit, the Chief Judge of the Court of International Trade, and one district judge from each regional circuit. So it's about 30 judges. So in this meeting, you have Judge Boasberg, who has already ruled against Donald Trump. And it wasn't he the one who was going to hold Trump in contempt? Is that the way that one went? He stated in this memorandum that was obtained by the Federalist, District of Columbia Chief Judge James Boasberg next raised his colleagues' concerns to the Chief Justice, John Roberts, quote, that the administration would disregard rulings of federal courts leading to a constitutional crisis. Boasberg said, you can't remove people to El Salvador. How dare you? This can't happen. Who do you think you are? Boasberg admits that he was concerned about what Trump might do if he ruled a certain way. You have no idea how somebody's going to react. You have no idea what they're going to do. You are not allowed to decide, well, my ruling has to be different because I presuppose something. What is this, Minority Report? Judge Boasberg and a couple other judges laying around in a big bathtub of milk trying to predict the future? That's what he's doing. This is precog stuff. We can see the future, so therefore we have to act now in a more what? Non-judicial way? Extrajudicial way? How do you want to describe it, Judge Boasberg? Here's how we describe it. You did not walk in justice is blind. You walked in with justice has a bias. We already knew it, right? There's not a single one of us that is surprised. But it's always good to have the data. I mean, it's nice to be right, but it's better to know you're right. You're right, getting proven right. It's just a little bit extra. That's a little bit. That is like sprinkles. That is like sprinkles on the ice cream. That's just, I can eat the ice cream, but delicious. A little bit of crunch and a little bit of chocolatey sweet. Margot Cleveland points out that this is both troubling and ironic that only a few days after this, Boasberg, in a case where he lacked the jurisdiction, as the Supreme Court would later confirm, entered into the order commanding the Trump administration to halt removals to El Salvador. Boasberg was concerned about whether Donald Trump would follow the law or the Trump administration would follow the law. So what did he do? He didn't follow the law. Was this extrajudicial? Was this saying I have to protect the judiciary by not following the rules of the judiciary? You know how often that happens. We go back to the bailouts. Remember the bailouts? We're talking about George Bush. I have to go against the free market to save the free market. Was one of the more insane things I had ever heard in my entire life. I have to go against the free market to save the free market is like saying I have to run a marathon by swimming. These things don't jive. They don't compute. One of these things is indeed not like the others. So now you have this. That the judge prejudged Trump and therefore decided to do something that wasn't within scope, wasn't within his rights to do. How many more judges feel this way? And based on this pronouncement, can we ask, should any of these judges' decisions be allowed to stand for more than an hour? Should we not have the Supreme Court saying if any of these judges who have now admitted to some level of prejudging the Trump administration, if they are to make a decision, we will immediately overturn that decision or put a stay on that decision and review it because they can't be trusted. Cannot be trusted. This is a story. Because it's the story of what you always knew to be true. And what you always knew to be true is that they have two sets of rules. Rules for them and rules for you. Well, you know, I often discuss it this way. The political left says, anything you do is suspect and anything I do, why are you looking at me? That's so weird that you're looking at me. You shouldn't be looking at me. My gosh, why are you looking at me? It's never about them. It's not about the rule of law. It's not about a commonality. It's not about decency. It's not about a nation. It is about power, beginning to end. It is the Alpha and the Omega. And this tells the story. If I were you, I would head over to TonyKatz.com and I would give that a read. Everything you thought about these people, it's true and then some. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. welcome back. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Yeah, I gotta get a new. It just keeps falling like that. There's a bunch. Also, White House press briefing today, and so we will cover that as hopefully she starts on time. Oh, do you think we're gonna get yelled at about Epstein? Will there be a good Epstein lecture today? Trump's post was, kills me when he's wrong. I mean, there are things we disagree with, but this is just, he's just wrong. That's all. I'll decide what's important. No, you won't, sir. We'll decide what's important. You can't tell people, hey, forget about this. That isn't how it works. Not at all. But we'll get into that. I've got that story, and I've got a bunch of video, or audio, I should say. However you want to describe it. This is good. Oh yeah. Just gonna play it fast and loose, people. All right. And I love how the world has come to understand that on CNN, Abby Phillip is a terrible host. What no one is discussing is that Scott Jennings needs to walk away from that show. His work on CNN made him famous. He's now got his own radio gig, and he can have other gigs. That show is terrible. And it's because Abby Phillip wants to be terrible. She wants to be awful. I don't know why she chooses this, but she does. Meanwhile, let's get back to our show here. Not awful. Do some cool stuff.
Senator, do you have a response to Trump saying you're guilty of mortgage fraud? Do you have any response?
That's Adam Schiff.
Senator, why did you decide to make your primary residence Maryland for 10 years, for a decade, not California? Any comment on Trump accusing you of mortgage fraud, sir? Any response?
And nothing. Nothing from Adam Schiff. I mean, there is a complaint about how he went about getting a mortgage and where he claimed his residence, and he wouldn't be the first person to do this, right? Plenty of members of the House and of the Senate, they're from name the state, but they have to spend their time in DC, and they rarely go home. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. And you want to get good terms on the mortgage and the deal and the whole thing. I think I don't think people have come to some level of conclusion here. Some like, all right, this is what we'll accept. I think it's still very, very personal. Should your member of Congress be spending all their time in DC? Now, if your member of Congress is from the Mid-Atlantic, it's pretty easy to get back. If your member of Congress is from the West Coast, not as easy. How do you do that? How do you handle that? They still have to have a place to live out there. None of these things are cheap. So if they spend more than half their time at their job, are they actually living somewhere else? Then there are the people who are like, well, no, I've got a residence right here. And it's like, it's an address no one ever goes to. I think that happened with Evan Bayh. Evan Bayh was senator from Indiana, and ran for Senate. And an interview was done with his neighbors, and they're like, "Who lives next door? I've never seen him." And that was that. And so that was Evan Bayh. And then there was residency conversations regarding Richard Lugar. These things do happen. right? That's about how we feel about our representation. This is about whether or not he got favorable terms on a mortgage. That you can go to jail for, and I do not mind if he does. I mean, I think he should go to jail for the lie about Russia. But you broke the law. Let us investigate. Let us prosecute, and innocent until proven guilty. But if found guilty, I just don't know if they make pinstripes that go all the way up to the top of his neck. I don't know. I'm not sure. President Trump, according to the White House, was going to fire Jerome Powell. And then President Trump said, I'm not going to fire Jerome Powell. I'm not. I don't know who said that. The White House said it. Well, the White House, I'm not firing Jerome Powell. He's fine. He's not fine. He's terrible. He's not terrible. He's awful. He's not awful. He's the worst. I should fire him, and he should quit, but I'm not going to fire him, and he's probably not going to quit. I only have 8 months to go, but he can destroy the country in 8 months. That's how much is left on Jerome Powell's term as chairman of the Federal Reserve, right? He's only got 8 months, but he can destroy the country in 8 months. He's already ruined the country. He's cost the country $400 billion. No, but I'm not going to get rid of him because, that's fine. I have absolutely no idea whether he is or whether he isn't. I am truly 50-50 on whether he fires Powell. If he does, I'll be like, look at that. And if he doesn't, I'll be like, look at that. I think the key thing here is the I shouldn't actually make that voice. It's not very manly at all. I'll apply this to things that I'm not paying any attention to. I'm not saying you can't talk about it. Note, I'm not saying you can't talk about it. Hint, hint, President Trump. Epstein. Excuse me. Ooh, I think I just gave myself the hiccups. Oh, it's got to be bad. They fired the daughter of James Comey. Her name is Maureen Comey. She worked at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan, Southern District of New York. She worked a string of high-profile cases. You know what she worked on? Jeffrey Epstein. Can't make that up. Can't make it up. She worked on the Ghislaine Maxwell case. And Maureen Comey worked on the Sean Combs case. This is the case where Sean Combs was found not guilty on the more serious charges. The sex trafficking stuff. Not guilty. And maybe that alone was reason to fire her. Maybe she was fired because she is the daughter of James Comey, who is posting assassination messages in shells. Remember the whole 86-47? Get it? Like 86, get rid of, and 47 being the 47th president of the United States. And James Comey takes a picture and he's like, I didn't know that's what it meant. I'm surprised all these people are so upset. Oh, by the way, check out my new book. I find that my problem in life is that I am not enough of a scumbag. I think that's it, because I'm not shameless enough. That's it. That's my issue. I am not enough of a shameless scumbag, because it seems that if you are a shameless, I don't know if I could say that word on air, but I already did. You can do anything. You can post assassination messages and then get interviewed and be like, I don't know what they're talking about. Did you notice my new book? Huh? I don't know if any of Comey's antics, James Comey's antics, led to the firing of his daughter, and certainly the sins of the father are not the sins of the child. That said, and she's a grown woman. That said, nobody owes her a job. Nobody has to guarantee her a job. Nobody has to provide her a job. Nobody has to care whether or not she has a job. It's not necessary. And I, for one, don't. People get fired all the time. All of them, all the time. And I don't think we should spend our lives being overly concerned about who's getting fired. But if Jerome Powell gets fired, who replaces him as the Fed chair? Certainly Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, is on the list. Kevin Hassett, who heads up the Economic Council, is on the list. And there is a guy who we have discussed before by the name of Warsh, who is on the list. Kevin Warsh is a former Federal Reserve governor. He believes the next Fed chair will maintain the central bank's independence from political pressure, even under the Trump administration. He is the one that Dr. Matt Will was talking about, saying that we should lower interest rates while selling our debt off of the Fed balance sheet. We should just get it gone. There's no reason for us to hold this paper. And if you do that, you're going to lower inflationary pressures, and we can cut interest rates and everything will be all right. I don't know who is going to replace him. And I think, as I said, it's 50-50 on whether Trump's going to fire anybody, because he may not decide that the juice is worth the squeeze. It may be better to have a Jerome Powell that you can have as the punching bag, as the reason something goes wrong for a while, especially if we are under the belief that tariffs are going to eventually have an effect. What we are learning thus far, and I heard this again from a manufacturer yesterday, speaking to somebody in the bourbon world, tariffs are not being passed to the customer. It's insane. It can't last. And that is, by the way, the point. Toyota is not passing tariffs along to the customer. They're absorbing. Can't do that forever. As a matter of just sheer economics, you can't do it. The tariff eventually has to get passed along. It gets passed along to you, me, and we. It must, by definition. So Trump may keep Powell around, because if that takes place, man, that's a good punching bag. Jerome Powell, you just like as a speed bag. That's the sound of that's a speed bag sound, by the way. I am the Rich Little of a new generation. We'll see what the man does. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz today. All right. Rich Little. I could have said Michael Winslow. Right? From the Police Academy movies. I could not think of Caliendo's last name. Couldn't think of that at all. So what do we got, guys? What do we know? What's going on? What's happening? What are we doing? Yeah, but so Fox bought Outkick and Barstool? Oh, Fox has had Outkick for a while. Send me that link. All right. Sorry, guys. Just taking a look at what's going on, what's happening, some of the things I want to get to you guys, some of the absolute nonsense that is out there. Get rid of that. That's there, and we're good. What else do we know? All right. So I've got that. But really that's an ESPN story, which is worth getting into. If we're going to do ESPN stories, I must talk about the ESPYs last night. Shane Gillis was very good. Are you kidding? I've got it right here. There we go. Got it. So much to get to. I could have, no, I think that's it. I was going to say something just like, it's fine. It's solid. And yes, that is producer Landon in the chat right there. You can say hello to him. Good, and good. There's that. And that. All right. Let's bring it back to the show, people. So there's a story about Dave Portnoy. I don't pay any attention to Dave at Barstool Sports. I've never worked with Barstool Sports. It's not, that's not where I go. But it's popular and it works, and he has turned himself into something, and the whole pizza review thing and everything else. And bravissimo. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Barstool is now creating a deal with Fox Sports. So Fox bought Outkick, and now Fox Sports is doing a deal with Barstool. They're not buying Barstool, right? The deal is that Dave Portnoy is going to be appearing on the Fox Sports college kind of game day show. And then parts of Barstool's college football show will air on Fox platforms. So producer Landon was saying that Portnoy joining Big Noon Kickoff is a way for Fox to compete with ESPN and what they've done with Pat McAfee. What Pat McAfee has done is outrageously impressive. I think Pat McAfee has at times held himself admirably. I think at times he has come across like the fool. At times he has come across tone deaf. That can happen. But he created something really incredible. And I give him credit because he played for the Indianapolis Colts. I'm in Indianapolis. He's in Indianapolis. He stayed. And I like the fact that he stayed. I'm trying to stay. People aren't making it easy on me, but I'm trying to stay. This is home. And I think he's been good for that show. He's funny. He's focused. He can talk the football, but he knows how to have the party good time with all of those college kids that show up for the events that Lee Corso made so famous. Portnoy is a way of challenging him is interesting. Portnoy is a guy who will give an opinion, but Portnoy is not as naturally affable. Oh, McAfee is more of a hangout guy, for sure. I'm not. That's not even a dig on Dave Portnoy. McAfee's more of a hangout guy than me. I do not know how to bro to save my life. This was said to me a few years ago by a friend, someone I used to do some radio with, April D. Gregory. She's like, "You do not know how to bro," and I'm like, "No, No, I do not. That is accurate. I can do a lot of things. I just cannot, bro. I just don't have that gene. I know who I am. I don't know if he'll be successful, although he's going to make money. What I can tell you is that ESPN is awful. ESPN still, to this day, more interested in the politics than in the sports. The amount of people who are actually doing a coverage that is worthwhile, something that you want to share, outrageously small. And it was stunning to see that last night for the ESPY Awards, which is just I don't even know what you call it. This awards program. Hey, let's just give a trophy out. Do you think it has no real bearing on real life? But they give out trophies. Everybody gives out a trophy. I'm in favor of the political right giving out more trophies. They should have more award shows and give out more trophies because, well, people like trophies. And if you let only the political left give out trophies, they'll decide who gets the trophy. I think we should give out our own trophies. More trophies. Honestly, every award show is nothing more than the participation trophy thing come to life on a grander scale. It's participation trophies with tuxedos. And this is why it was so incredible that the host of the ESPYs last night was Shane Gillis. Shane Gillis is a comic. Shane Gillis is blue collar, not blue collar, salt of the earth. Shane Gillis was the guy hired by Saturday Night Live. And then, oh my gosh, you said some bad tweets. Bad tweets. They were, well, were they sexist, producer Landon, or were they pornographic, or were they homophobic, or were they bigoted, or just all of the above? Right. You say bigoted. I probably all of the above. And so like, you can't be on Saturday Night Live. No. You can't say that and insult Trump 24/7. We can't have that here. 10 years later, he's hosting the ESPYs. He did it. He climbed the mountain. And he is hosting the ESPYs. This guy who was fired from Saturday Night Live after a day for his tweets. By the way, he has hosted Saturday Night Live. I mean, talk about incredible stuff. And so he is the host. And as the host of the ESPYs on ESPN, this overly woke network that doesn't actually focus on sports anymore. And the sports coverage they do often is just really bad. This is part of his monologue.
John Jones and Nate Diaz are here. Hell yeah. I had a couple drinks with those guys last night at the hotel, and it was terrifying. Donald Trump wants to stage a UFC fight on the White House lawn. The last time he staged a fight in D.C., Mike Pence almost died. All right. You don't have to do that. It was fine. I didn't write it. Actually, there was supposed to be an Epstein joke here, but as it got deleted. Must have probably deleted itself, right? Probably never existed, actually. Let's move on as a country and ignore that.
That's unbelievable. That, first of all, that's funny. The Mike Pence joke is funny. Mike Pence should comment on that and say, haha, like that's very good. That is a very smart joke. The Epstein joke is just amazing. Amazing. Now, people will tell you that nobody is paying attention. That's not true. They'll tell you that no one's paying attention and that it doesn't matter. And your only people who are talking about Epstein are the people who create content. Those are the only people talking about Jeffrey Epstein. And you've got Harry Enton over there at CNN discussing how the polling is going.
Look, I think this one surprised me a bit because of all these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down with Republicans. If anything, they're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump, look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approve of Republicans. This week out, 90% with Republicans.
I want to say for the record that we said here on this show that the idea that there is this MAGA fracture doesn't exist. But if you don't think that there are people upset that Trump was all about release of information and then said, we're not releasing information. Why are you paying attention to this information? Who do you think you are? You're just a bunch of fools. You're being duped by the Democrats. This was the latest one. You're being duped and you're fools. And these are my past supporters. Holy heck, missing the forest for the trees. Of course it matters. And I will get into it. Of course it matters. And then I've got people saying, you know what? I've spoken to a bunch of people and no one cares about this story. I saw that from Bridget Fedesi, who I like, by the way. And who was the other person? Sargon. Oh, gosh, her name escapes me right now. Batya Sargon. And I want to say for the record that you having friends who don't care about a story doesn't make the story go away or doesn't make the story real or not real, right? Using Pauline Kael myth quotes doesn't actually make your observation fact. What makes something fact is here we said was this information. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, said it was on her desk. She then hands out these ridiculous binders that have no real information in them, looking like the fool, and she did. And now you won't share anything at all? Yeah, it looks like you're hiding something. And we just want the information because anybody involved in child sex trafficking needs to go to jail, and we don't care who they are. But how dare you want this? Well, Trump could look at this and say it's a conversation that's taking people away from discussing how well he's doing and all of his winning. We'll get into the winning. I don't think it does because we talk about the good things that are happening all the time. All the time. But this was a miss and this was a mistake. But does it make people say, I now am not going to vote for him and be supportive of what's going on with the border and being supportive of what's going on with Make America Healthy Again and be supportive of what's going on in the Middle East? But no. No. Not in the slightest does it do those things. As for ESPN, Shane Gillis did well. The best thing that Shane Gillis did, the ever-loving best thing he did, was do the Norm Macdonald joke. And if ESPN wants to go the way of having more Shane Gillis as a more comedy and more irreverence and better conversations about sports, I'm all in. Shane Gillis said, I'm going to end this with a bit from Norm Macdonald, the late, great Norm Macdonald, who hosted the ESPYs years ago. Charles Woodson had won the Heisman Trophy. And he did the same joke, the same setup, the same everything as Norm Macdonald did. This is the joke as told by Norm Macdonald.
And there's Charles Woodson. How about that? And what a season he had. Great, man. He became the first defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy. And congratulations, Charles. That is something that no one can ever take away from you. Unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case... all bets are off. Just a word of advice.
joke is brilliant. That joke is brilliant. And bravo to Shane Gillis for bringing it back. I'm Tony Katz. Oh, it's so good. This is Tony Katz today. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. That is the name of the show. Or that is my name. That is also the name of the show. Both things happening at the same time. That Noem joke is just delightful. Absolutely delightful. I know. Don't need that. Hold on a second. Sorry, I was just grabbing a audio clip of Pramila Jayapal allegedly admitting that illegal immigrants in our district get federal benefits. So there's that. Then you had I'm not as familiar with every single person. Emil Bo, is it Bo? I don't know if it's Bove or Bove. But Democrats, he's a nominee from Trump, judicial nominee, and Democrats are so unhappy that they walked out. They're screaming at Republicans, and they walked out before the judicial committee. I think it was before the committee approved his nomination. Crazy. I will share that, I think, in the next hour. You've got questions. I've got answers. I'm happy to do just that and answer the questions. You tell me, I'm all in. What else do we got? I've got that right there. I've got home builders. I got a bunch, man. There's just too much stuff. Not enough cigars. I just feel very easy today. You know, sometimes I come in, all right, I want to hit this, and I want to hit this strong. Today I just feel like completely at ease. Like if I could put my feet up, I would. Except I'm wearing I don't have any socks on. That would just be weird. Because if I'm going to put my feet on camera, I'm totally doing OnlyFans. There's just no need for anything else. No need. None. The answer to everything is OnlyFans. People making millions. And me, I think for a living, schmuck. So dumb. But I am able to sleep at night, so I've got that going for me. I've got a double dip of Pramila Jayapal. I got a twofer for the Congresswoman. She's a treat. All right. So did Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal just admit that illegal immigrants in her district get SNAP benefits? I'm going to play it for you. You tell me what it is that she said. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. I'm going to share it. You tell me what she said. She's on some left-leaning silliness.
Yesterday, I was at a food bank in my district talking about the SNAP cuts, the horrible SNAP cuts and Medicaid cuts. And they told me that people are not even showing up to Head Start where they get their food. They're not showing up to the food banks because they're afraid. And it's not just undocumented immigrants. It is people of all legal statuses. It's undocumented immigrants who have been here for 20 years.
Okay. So first things first, she is absolutely saying that people who are here illegally are getting these benefits, are getting food stamps. Now, the question is there any situation in which somebody here illegally could get that level of assistance? Is there any system at all for that? Well, I don't know how that system would exist, because it would seem to, even those of us who are not in that world and familiar with it on a daily basis, that in order to get a benefit, you have to apply for the benefit. In order to be able to apply for the benefit, you would have to be able to show certain pieces of documentation. Now, if you told me people showed up to a food bank who are in the country illegally and getting food, I would say, okay, I totally understand that. And I would also say, for the record, that I would never want a food bank checking IDs in that regard. The food bank, whether it be church-based or whatever else, is providing for people in need. That's their job, if you will, and I don't want to get in their way of doing that. But if you have to engage some level of proof of your citizenship or being here legally, and you're able to fake that in a way to get benefits for something you didn't necessarily pay into, or you're not a citizen of the country, so you don't get, I don't think we should be so flip about that. I think we should be cracking down on that. That's one heck of an admission from Pramila Jayapal. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. So I just realized that my camera's at an angle, right? I naturally am like this, and the camera's over here. I'm naturally like this, the camera's over here. I don't think I care. I think it's good enough as it is. So here's what we've got going on. We have got the White House briefing that is scheduled to take place at 1:00. Now, nothing's happening yet. Like, I can actually show you. Like that. There's the program will begin shortly. Please take your seats. The program will begin shortly. Oh, I could have been that guy. The white zone is for the immediate loading and unloading of passengers only. It's like the movie Airplane. No, the red zone is for the immediate loading and unloading of passengers only. So we will have that. We will cover that in its entirety. I hope you don't mind. Today's a little more of a relaxed day. Just felt it. I am wearing my Flederman Von Riest right there. That is in the Harborside turquoise, because I kind of matched the shirt. Thought it kind of went right there. You can find this at Von Riest, RIESTE, vonriest.com. Use promo code CATS, get your discount. Von Riest, incredible watches assembled right here in Indiana. They're fantastic. They're just comfortable, easy. They could take a punch, and the time they keep is absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Go to Von Riest, RIESTE, vonriest.com. Use promo code CATZ, KATZ. Get your discount. Do that immediately. Here's what we'll do. We're in the radio break, so we'll take a break from here as well. Hang loose, kick back, and we'll be back soon enough. Stay right here. Guys, welcome back. Tony Katz today. That's the name of the show. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. That's where also the chat room is open and available and waiting for you every step of the way. So you want to get over there. So we got the White House press briefing. That's going to be coming up. Oh, look, there's Jackie Heinrich. She's there. She is standing on a wooden box because otherwise she'd be 2 feet tall. They showed the shot from, I don't know if you can see. Can you see that? Can you see my mouse on that? No, you can't. From that back camera on the back right behind the woman in the green. And so they showed the shot from there and she's standing on a box. It's like, oh, Jackie, you be you. But you have to see over the crowd to be able to get the shot that you want. So that's that. You've got the situation in Syria with the Israelis. And that situation, of course, the left will never admit it, but that was a humanitarian effort. If some members of the Syrian military or Syrians in general, or the Syrian government are going to go after the Druze population, Druze, they're going to protect them. They want to be protected, and Israel went to protect them. The Druze are so appreciative that they started putting up Israeli flags. Then, of course, you've got Ukraine and Putin and the weapons being purchased by NATO and cycling through. Then, of course, Epstein's going to come up, but you're also going to have what new deals are available, what's going on with the economy. Certainly, if you can get Coke to use real sugar instead of high fructose corn syrup. Farmers may have a question, but the rest of us are going to be like, delicious. So anyway, the show's about to begin. I'm Tony Katz. I'm glad that you're here. Oh, look. Oh, you missed it. She's actually holding the box. Dang it. Too late now. Let's go. Gearing up for the White House press briefing. How many Epstein questions will there be? I understand the argument. Why are we bringing this up? You're giving the left all this ammunition. It's keeping us from talking about all the wins. We're going to get into the wins conversation. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. There are wins. We should be all about the wins. Wins are good. We should be celebrating them. We can do two things at once. And this is where, if I differ from others on the political right, I'm completely fine with that. But dear Lord, we shouldn't talk about it at all. Sorry, I'm not buying into that. And that people are saying that. Just pure madness. Pure madness is Mamdani, the guy who is running for mayor of New York, and yes, I believe will win. This is him from, is he doing a podcast from his home or whatever? I don't know how long ago this was.
My platform is that every single person should have housing. And I think faced with these two options, the system has hundreds of thousands of people unhoused, right? For what? And if there was any system that could guarantee each person housing, whether you call it the abolition of private property or you call it, just a statewide housing guarantee, it is preferable to what is going on right now.
So that is,
and I think that people try and play gotcha games about these kinds of things. And it's like, look, I care more about whether somebody has a home. My platform is that
you care about whether or not you could take somebody else's home. If you don't care about private property rights, you don't care about anything. Private property can be stated differently, right? So some people would argue that freedom is the very concept, that you can own private property. You can own something. I'm not talking about real estate. I'm talking about anything, right? My cigar cutter right here. Or anything else that you own something, you control something, and no one can take it from you. If you are not allowed to own real property, you're not actually free. I have always taken that to a much more simplistic baseline. If you cannot say no, you are not free. If you can't say no, you're not a free person. If you can't say I object, if you can't say I don't want this, you're not a free person. Now, sometimes there'll be laws that you don't like, right? Certainly. But you can vote for other people and have those laws changed. That you can do. The abolishment or the abolishing of private property is to say we don't believe in a free society. Abolishing of private property is Marxism. That's what Mamdani favors. And he can say it with a smile and like somehow it has a potential value, but it doesn't. It doesn't now, and it never will. There is no value to his proposition. There is only destruction in its wake. The destroying of the soul, the destroying of the mind, the destroying of a civilization. Because if you have no private property, whose property is it? It's all of our property. But yet somehow only a few people on top get to decide who gets to be what near what property. And it has always been very clear that whoever has been in charge of the communist, name the communist place, they don't live like the rest of the people. They live in luxury and they have fresh fruit. Kim Jong-un has fruit and has pancakes and has anything he wants provided to him. Can that be said about the 25 million starving North Koreans? I have seen what happens when you abolish private property, and it isn't good. It's awful and it's obscene, and only quite literally a psychopath or an ignoramus could think of abolishing private property and smile as if it is somehow a good thing. It is an obscenity. And that's what New York is going to vote for. That's what New York wants. And so I was on John Bachman show. I forget what show I was on. I did a couple things yesterday, and with Newsmax, and it was about whether or not Andrew Cuomo, who's running as an independent, can win. And one person was saying, "Oh yeah, he can win because of this and of that." And people don't want to be a part of Mamdani's thing. And my argument goes as follows: that without question, people hate Andrew Cuomo, the former governor, this low-class individual. And I feel the same way about his brother. I am one of the, I don't know if I'm one of the few people. I may be one of the few people who says it out loud. This whole thing he does on News Nation, I think, is an embarrassment for News Nation. I really wish they had not given him a show. Oh, he's really turned the corner. My gosh, he's changed. Look how strong he has been on this subject and that subject. Ocasio-Cortez, anything for the dollar. He's already said he's embarrassed to be on the network. He's only making $1 million a year. How embarrassing. I think it's embarrassing that people can have watched his CNN career, how he obfuscated for his brother, the then governor, how he pushed this nonsense about his brother being excellent regarding COVID, tried to find information on women who were accusing his brother of impropriety, propped up Don Lemon. How you could take that guy and say, I'll keep watching him. Beyond me. But let's not get too far over our skis here. You've got the White House press briefing that's about to commence. I don't know if it'll be in 30 seconds or in 4 minutes, but we'll take the break now. I will come back to the briefing. Karoline Leavitt, there's going to be a lot, and don't worry. If we miss anything, I'll bring it to you. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Now, what are the odds she comes out now? No, she hasn't. But she might come out any second. She might come out any second right there. So let me bring you this. Boom, and we listen. Oh, they're all chit-chatting and jibber-jabbering and doing the whole thing. Let me tell you, this is like the stuff that I do that, honestly, I don't know what other hosts do. Where people are always like, why do you play the whole thing? What do you mean, why do I play I share it because it's happening. And I think that if we all hear it at the same time, that, maybe you heard it differently than I did. Maybe I heard it differently than you did. We should all kind of have like a baseline. of what's being said. And sometimes there are fireworks. And also, no, I am not smoking a blunt. Seriously, Rogue. Seriously. Stop that. Oh, here's a good one. F you and the pedophiles you love. That's weird. That is really weird. First things first. I love that you're listening. Second thing second, I don't eat at Subway. And third, and foremost, why would you remotely say that? What in the world have I ever said that would lead you down that road? And the answer is nothing. I mean, tell me you don't listen to my show without telling me you don't listen to my show. That's it. That is it right there. Also, did I say, this is what I wanted. Did you say what you were smoking? So I'm smoking from Aging Room, the Connecticut. This is a Churchill, so 7x50 box press. Easy, simple smoke. Very, very easy to work with. I think Aging Room does fine cigars, some that I really like. This is just this is an okay Connecticut. It's just an okay Connecticut. It'll get you through. It's not the end of the world. It's not the best Connecticut I've ever had. I'll leave it at that. But they do some other things. I like. They've got a very low cost Sumatra that I like. They've got a very low cost Maduro that I think is just a very nice, easy smoke as well. I just wanted the Connecticut here. Wow, look at that. Karoline Leavitt, not on the stage yet, clearly watching the show and listening to the show, and knows that we have to get back to the radio show before she can come join us. Good for her. Good for her. Also, I've been asked, have I ever applied to sit in the new media seat? I have not applied, but I will. I will. There's only, 700,000 applications before mine, but I will apply and see if we can get in there, and we'll start doing some outreach for some of the other interviews. Some of the other cabinet members will reach out to the president and the vice president. We'll do all that. I don't know. It's not that I don't want to talk to him. I of course I would. It's just that sometimes I don't think about it because we're into other subjects and other things. But we should, and I will. All right. Let's see when Karoline Leavitt comes joining us because the radio show is about to come back. Let's do it.
Not happening now.
No, this is the end of a publicly funded media era. This dates back to the days of black and white television. Back in the 60s, Congress saw a value for PBS and NPR, but no more. As a result of this rescission, radio and TV stations will have to lay off staffers and cut back on programming. Some smaller stations will suffer more than bigger stations, right? Popular shows like Daniel Tyler.
Let me say for the record, regarding the defunding in many ways of NPR and PBS. I want to make sure I'm on the record here. God forbid we misquote me. Let me say this now. Let me say it once. Let me say it clearly. Good. I don't want NPR to be funded. I don't want to write a check to NPR. I'm not going to stop you from writing a check to NPR. But I have no interest in the government paying for my competition on radio. I want to be able to compete on an even playing field. I don't want them having some level of advantage over me. Let them compete like I do for audience and sponsors and everything else and donors and all sorts of things. I'm thrilled by that. I'm overjoyed by this move on the rescission bill. Yes, there were some modifications made regarding PEPFAR. It was a 51-48 vote. Senator Tina Smith of Minnesota fell ill. She went to the hospital. It wouldn't have changed the outcome of the vote. Although that could happen from time to time, and when it does, it does. But it is good that this defunding is taking place. They don't deserve the money. Not in any way, shape, or form. They don't deserve any of my dollars. Let them go earn it like the rest of us. So I'm thrilled to see it. And by the way, as the live stream is going on there, you can head over to the YouTube channel, Tony Katz, and see it for yourself. Dark, thank you so much for the support. It is appreciated. People are supportive. I am thrilled and overjoyed. So we are waiting on the press briefing, and the tech team just came out and turned on the monitors. So you know that it's serious right there. They do like the multimedia presentation. Hey, this person's been arrested. That person's been arrested. The other person's been arrested. Your mother's been arrested. They've got it. They like to share it in that way. I'll be curious to see if there's an announcement of any deals. Will we see anything on the tariff conversation? Will we hear anything on the Ukraine conversation and the weapons that have been sent to Ukraine via NATO? Is an Epstein conversation going to come up? Well, of course it's going to come up. Of course it will. And I want to see if there's a conversation regarding Kristi Noem. Because what the Homeland Security Secretary has said is that there's no amnesty for undocumented farm workers. Good. President Trump had alluded a week or so ago that somehow what you might see is, these people who work the farms and they've been here a long time and the farmers need the help and maybe they'll get a reprieve. No. Illegal is illegal is illegal. Can you bring people back to work on farms? Absolutely. Who come legally and you know who they are and you've checked this and you've vetted that? 1,000%. There's this weird back and forth going on. Oh, we don't need these people. We've got plenty of people to work these jobs in the United States. Oh, these jobs, they make up 26% of this and 17% of that and 42% of this. And you can't work without these people. You absolutely need these people working. And we need to have them on the farms. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to get lettuce. Tell me when we're not going to be able to get steak. Then I'll be concerned. Tell me when I can't get steak. And then I'll say, my gosh, what is happening here? We got to open up the floodgates. But you cannot say that some people, that all these people are illegal, but some people are more illegal than others. We don't allow illegal immigration, but we allow some illegal immigration. Being asked if I've talked about the Dignity Act. So the Dignity Act of 2025, you've got Veronica Escobar is a Democrat out of Texas. You've got Salazar, Representative Salazar is a Republican out of Florida. And this is their bipartisan legislation to deal with the border. They're going to engage reforms, a 7-year program that provides undocumented immigrants who've been in the U.S. since before 2021 with temporary legal status and work authorization and protection from deportation. It's as if we don't learn. There cannot be a reward for illegal immigration. Now, usually I have said it like this, that I refuse to have any conversation about something like this, really amnesty conversations, until we have a secure border. Now, we have far more work happening at the border. President Trump has been incredibly successful at this. The strength, the conviction, all of it has been fantastic. Really and truly fantastic. And I'm thrilled by it. But have we gone about in a legislative way? Have we set up a system that truly works? What we have set up is here are the laws on the books, and we're now applying them. That creates a softness, because what happens if you have somebody who doesn't want to apply the law? What happens when that person becomes president? So how do we, on a congressional level, on a legislative level, is there anything that we could do, morph, change, take these 3 laws, get rid of those, and recreate it in a way that has more teeth, that is not so easily damaged by an incoming administration? Well, the president of the United States determines immigration policy, which is one of the reasons to want a better legislation, but also the president can make changes as the president sees fit. And if the president is not going to execute the laws that are on the books, it is up to us to do something about that. So how much can be done legislatively? I think there's a good back and forth there. I don't think the answer is a bill that includes a provision for individuals brought to the U.S. as children to obtain a green card if they made specific education, military, or work requirements. They also must learn English and pass a civics test. The children themselves versus the parents could be an interesting conversation. But are we going to reward the parents? Are they going to get to stay? We had a child here, so therefore we get to stay. No. Aren't we having this whole conversation right now regarding this and birthright citizenship? You can't go about saying we're going to make things better by doing the thing that doesn't make anything better. Part of the making things better is there is a consequence for actions. And when I look at legislation like this, the Dignity Act, where is the consequence? Like, for example, that participants in this dignity program have to pass a background check and then pay $1,000 initially and $6,000 in installments over the 7 years. Check in with the Department of Homeland Security every 2 years. And when you complete this, you get dignity status. I don't know. I don't know what dignity status is, but I'm pretty sure it's something that's looked upon with fine regard when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons. It is a renewable non-immigrant status that allows people to work and travel legally, but does not provide a path to citizenship or federal benefits. Now I ask you, you think that's going to pass? Show me where the Republican is good with that. Show me where the Democrat is good with that. Well, you see, that's what this legislation does. It really takes both of these things and kind of brings these groups together, and not everybody is happy, but you create something, you create a framework. Allow me to paraphrase or crib, maybe directly, Ayn Rand, who wrote Atlas Shrugged, The Fountainhead. The compromise between bread and poison is still death. Why is it that we think that compromise on a subject of this level of importance is valuable? Why can't there be a standard? And you must now live up to the standard. If you've been living here for 5 years illegally, I don't want a reward for that. If for 5 years I didn't pay my taxes, and then the 6th year I paid my taxes, you're not going to come after me for the 5 years? And that's another thing. It's all about the money. Well, Tony, Trump's offering the gold card thing. I thought the gold card thing was weird. You pay $5 million and then you can get yourself into the country in an expedited way. It does sound weird. It doesn't flow trippingly off the tongue. Is it bringing in money? Yes, it is. Do other countries do this? Absolutely, they do. So is this about dignity, or is this about dignity if you can afford it? The only argument that I make, time and time again, is that in every one of these types of deals. What happens is that we get further and further away from the standard that we simply need to uphold. And the standard needs to be upheld. We do not allow illegal immigration in the United States, and we do not reward it. Well, Tony, they're here. What do you want to do? I told you what I want to do. I don't want to reward it. Meanwhile, the press briefing has not started yet. I don't know. But when it does, I'll have it for you. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Guys, welcome back. Tony Katz. Tony Katz Today. I cannot tell you what's taken so long. At all. I am surprised that they haven't gone yet. And if you want to know what deflated sounds like, Caitlin Clark announcing, WNBA All-Star Weekend is taking place in Indianapolis, not too far from where I'm at. I am incredibly sad and disappointed to say I can't participate in the three-point contest or the All-Star game. WNBA is so... They come to Indy, basically, it's like a lark. I forget the city that it was scheduled in. They had some kind of issue, and Indianapolis was like, we'll take it. And if you don't know Indianapolis, this whole town was built on sports. It is the best convention. It's quite literally the best convention city in the country. Because once you've come from the airport, once you're here, you don't even need a cab. You can get anywhere. It's easy to do. The convention center, the restaurants, the bars, all the entertainment, it's all in one spot. It's super easy. So to have the WNBA All-Star game here, like we took it in 4 seconds, like, yeah, we've got it, and boom, it's done. And now she's not playing? That's brutal. That is brutal because of that groin injury. And of course, other players beating the living snot out of her. We'll get to that. Let's see if Karoline Leavitt decides to have a press conference. Now, I'm used to press conferences starting a little late, but for the Trump team, this is just flat out silly. Makes me wonder if there's any breaking news or news they're about to break and they want to make sure they've got it all together. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. If she comes out, I've got it. I'm ready to go with the press conference. Happy to bring that to you. Did you catch the story? It's so absolutely incredible. It's a Coldplay concert. Oh, this is nuts. And there's a kiss cam. Now, I don't know kiss cams at concerts, like sporting events, sure. And it shows the couple and they kiss. And then sometimes, like maybe the most famous one is the guy who pulls out a sign and says, "That's my sister." And it's really good. It's always adorable and ridiculous and the whole thing. Well, it's got this couple and she's standing there and he's standing behind her, got his arms around her and they're holding hands and oh, the love. And the camera comes to them and they're on the big screen and it's the kiss cam. And the next thing you know, she turns around and he quite literally drops to the floor. Because he didn't want to be seen. It turns out that he is the CEO of a company and she is the human resource officer. They immediately went to hide their faces. It was too late. They're already on the screen before anybody can even notice, before they even notice what's happening. And Chris Martin's like, what's going on here? Either they're very shy or they're having an affair. Can't you just sit down and watch the show? Don't you know that you're, by the way, what made you think you weren't going to be seen? The problem with having an affair is that it seems like an awful lot of work. Like being emotionally invested with another person outside of your relationship, that seems exhausting. It's like the people who have two families. How? People ask me, Tony, you have 3 radio shows. How do you do it? 2 families? Way more difficult than 3 radio shows. First of all, how do you remember birthdays or addresses? How do you remember any of it? I have kids, I can't remember their names. And it's not because I'm trying to engage some kind of skit and be like, you and the other one. I'm telling you, the amount of times I get their names wrong is a good 64%. Not half, 64. I mean, I know their names. I've met them. They're great kids. But when I'm saying the name, invariably a different name comes out. Just is. Why would you go? I'm always impressed by the brazenness. The brazen of the criminal, the brazen of the, it's like the person who steals from the company and then was like, well, that was easy. I'm going to do it again. And then you find out for like 5 years they've been stealing. If you were able to get away with it, I'm not saying you should steal. I'm saying if you were able to get away with it, be like, okay, I'm never doing that again. But you get to a moment of invincibility. No one's going to find me. No one's going to bother me. I don't know how that works. I'm always amazed by that. Speaking of things I'm amazed by, did you catch this reporter? Before I share it, I should tell you that this is the kind of story that if you served in the military or you have had actual, like, real maddening events happen in your life, the level of anger you're about to experience is overwhelming through the roof. This is a reporter talking to Chuck Todd on the Chuck Todd cast. Chuck Todd cast. Holy heck. He's from CBS News. His name is Scott McFarlane. And he,
for those of us that
wants you to know that he was there when President Trump got shot in Butler. And what's his experience of all of this?
for those of us there, it was such a horror because you saw an emerging America. And it wasn't the shooting, Chuck. I got diagnosed with PTSD within 48 hours. I got put on trauma leave, not because I think of the shooting, but because you saw it in the eyes, the reaction of the people. They were coming for us. If he didn't jump up with his fist, they were going to come kill us.
I know.
The reporter has PTSD, post-traumatic stress, because he saw Donald Trump get shot and he was convinced that the crowd was going to kill him. I have seen you know what? I now completely like the couple going to a concert, they're somehow less brazen than this dude. I have seen people make stories about themselves before. But that's just special. The crowd was not looking at the press. The crowd wanted to know if the president was alive. They wanted to know if they were alive. They wanted to know if anybody else was going to be shooting. My God. You want to talk about completely broken. Self-centered, egomaniacal. There it is. We take the quick break, and then we've got a press conference from Karoline Jean-Pierre. See what I did there? That's funny because it's not her. Karoline Leavitt. That'll be starting in mere moments from what I hear. I'll bring to you what I can. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. So they just brought the person out to the new media seat. So I'm assuming they're going to start in the next minute or so. Man, they're taking their time today. I feel bad, the radio audience. I couldn't get it all synced up, but I took the break early. And here we are. So she should be coming up soon. And we will go from there. Or maybe we won't. I don't know. We'll find out. Come on, Karoline. I apologize for calling you Karoline Jean-Pierre. Come on, Karoline. You can do it. You can do it, Karoline Leavitt. We all have faith in you. By the way, yes, that dude is totally insufferable. Totally insufferable. I do not know if he's a soy boy. Let's bring it to Karoline.
I apologize for our tardiness. I was with the president. Let me begin with a few scheduling announcements today. President Trump will travel to Scotland, where he will visit both Turnberry and Aberdeen from July 25th to July 29th. During the visit, President Trump will meet again with Prime Minister Starmer to refine the great trade deal that was brokered between the United States and the United Kingdom. And the President and the First Lady will travel to the United States from September 17th to September 19th later this fall. This will mark a truly unprecedented second state visit for President Trump, and he is honored and looking forward to meeting with His Majesty the King at Windsor Castle. There has been a wave of positive economic news over the past week, which I would like to highlight today. Joe Biden's inflation crisis has been defeated. Prices paid to American businesses for goods and services were flat in June, which is lower than all 50 forecasters in the Bloomberg survey predicted. And core inflation, which is the best measure of inflation, came in lower than expected again in the month of June.
I'm not a
Since
believer in
President
that.
Trump
The
took
core.
office,
You're not hearing it.
core inflation has tracked at just 2.1% overall and has come in below or at economists' expectations every single month. Wages are growing at a strong pace and prices are falling for everyday Americans. We also saw prices for new and used vehicles and airfares drop last month. In addition, prices for gas, fuel oil, energy commodities, hotels, airfare, public transportation, and fresh vegetables are all down over last year. As we said all along, trust in President Trump. The American dream is back, and everyday families are already reaping the benefits of this incredible economic turnaround in just 6 months. President Trump has ended the era of economic surrender and implemented powerful tariffs to stand up for our workers and businesses and rebalance America's trading agreements. Despite all of the doom casting from the so-called experts claiming that these tariffs would be the end of the world as we know it, the opposite has occurred. Tariffs are not inflationary, as President Trump has said all along. In reality, tariffs are a source of massive revenue. We're seeing trillions of dollars in private investment pour into our country
Right now, companies
because
are absorbing the
companies around
tariffs.
the
What
world
happens when they don't?
want to make their products right here with American labor
Just
and not have to pay any tariffs
wrong
at all.
victory.
Customs and tariff
Wrong.
revenue has already totaled more than
It's too late now.
$113 billion since President Trump entered office, helping to lead a budget surplus in June for the first time in nearly a decade. We are truly entering a golden age as a result of these pro-growth and America First trade policies. On another matter, yesterday in the East Room, the president was proud to sign the Halt All Lethal Trafficking of Fentanyl Act into law, surrounded by angel families to help finally end the devastating fentanyl crisis that has ravaged millions of Americans. Under the Halt Fentanyl Act, anyone who possesses, imports, distributes, or manufactures any illicit fentanyl-related substances will be subject to criminal prosecution in the same manner as any other Schedule I controlled substance. This legislation will close the loopholes that criminals use to skirt around the law and make it easier for law enforcement to prosecute vicious traffickers who peddle poison in our communities. President Trump has always made tackling the drug crisis a top priority, and this important bipartisan legislation further follows through on that commitment. The complete and total success at our southern border that many in the media in this room continue to ignore is another example of the president keeping his word to families who have lost loved ones due to fentanyl, and it's another win for the American people. Customs and Border Protection just released the final operationalized stats for the month of June, and I must highlight some of these incredible numbers. There were only 6,072 Southwest apprehensions in June, 15% lower than the previous record that this president set in the month of March. To put that in perspective, the Biden administration routinely saw the same number of encounters in a single day. And on many days, that number was more than 10,000 apprehensions at the Southwest border.
And she should be talking about this, and the White House should be crowing about this. And the success at the border is absolutely remarkable and fantastic, and it is what we voted for. Unquestionably true. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Karoline Leavitt, White House press secretary, engaged in the press conference where she talked about the economy and inflation being down, and every single economist got it wrong. And it turns out that tariffs are not inflationary. Okay. But right now, companies are eating the tariffs. What happens when they don't? I just thought it was a victory lap too early. So far, yes. Success in the inflation not being runaway. What happens when they don't absorb the cost? What happens at that moment? Meanwhile, I don't know if I said hello. Tony Katz, good to be with you. Tony Katz today. Let's take it back to the press secretary.
Convicted for child abuse and injury.
She's right now going through people who have been arrested, illegal immigrants, and the abuses they've engaged in, the violent crimes they've engaged in. This is something that they do regularly from the podium.
Arrested a criminal illegal alien from Mexico. convicted of aggravated sexual assault in Texas. The men and women of ICE are heroes. They are putting their lives on the line every day to get the worst of the worst, these types of criminals, out of our communities and out of our country. And the president continues to strongly have the backs of all ICE agents who are doing their jobs to keep all of us, including everyone in this room, safe. The facility, sorry, 1 second. In other news, following President Trump's bold executive actions protecting American children from irreversible chemical and surgical mutilation, the largest provider of these barbaric practices will now be closing its doors. The facility in Los Angeles, California, is just the latest facility downsizing or eliminating their irreversible and harmful services that feed into the lie that you can somehow change a child's sex.
Good.
The Biden administration peddled dangerous policies that divide medical science in favor of radical transgender ideology. But President Trump has put an end to that to ensure America's children's innocence is protected and our children can lead healthy and productive lives.
Excellent.
Finally, last night, Senate Republicans passed President Trump's $9 billion rescissions package.
Love it.
This will help restore fiscal sanity in our country by rescinding billions in wasteful foreign aid and finally ending taxpayer funding for PBS and NPR, two media organizations that have ridiculously used federal dollars to push a partisan left-wing agenda for many years.
1000%.
The House should pass this rescissions package immediately and send it to the president's desk for signature.
You bet.
On another note, I know that many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House medical unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Importantly, there was no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. Laboratory testing included a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel, coagulation profile, D-dimer, B-type natriuretic peptide, and cardiac biomarkers. All results were within normal limits. An echocardiogram was also performed and confirmed normal cardiac structure and function. No signs of heart failure, renal impairment, or systemic illness were identified. Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy. And the president remains in excellent health, which I think all of you witness on a daily basis here. So the president wanted me to share that note with
you. Understand that that is the kind of thing that you put out to say, I am not Joe Biden. When something's up, I share it with you. However, what he's sharing is, I'm older, and these are things that happen to older people, which is going to give the left a huge thing to run on. Look how old he is. They're going to do that. Now to the questions.
Curious to hear if the president was in favor of removing any and all language around central bank digital currencies from the Genius Act, maybe as a means to get it across the line and get it on his desk. And then my second question was about something the president spoke about in this room. He talked about a $600 de minimis tax exemption for Bitcoin and other crypto spending. So I was just wondering if you could comment on those.
Sure. Well, the president did signal his support for a de minimis exemption for crypto, and the administration continues to be in support of that. We are definitely receptive to it to make crypto payments easier and more efficient for those who seek to use crypto as simple as buying a cup of coffee. Of course, right now that cannot happen, but with the de minimis exemption, perhaps it could in the future, and we will continue to explore legislative solutions to accomplish that. As for the central bank digital currency and the Genius Act, which you noted has passed through Congress and will be sent to the president's desk. I believe the House is voting on it. If they haven't, they should be passing it. We know we have the votes, and we expect to get to the president's desk, and we are planning a signing ceremony tomorrow afternoon. All of you will get more details on that. This piece of legislation is going to make America the crypto capital of the world, and that's what the president promised. As for a central bank digital currency, the president opposes that. He made that promise to the American people on the campaign, and while it's not in this specific piece of legislation, he did sign a January executive order banning a central bank digital currency. The administration supports Congress's efforts to codify that executive order into law, and I believe there will be future pieces of legislation in regards to crypto that will be moving through Capitol Hill.
I think it's interesting the president's take here on crypto and the movement towards it, the value of it. I am a supporter, right? A full disclosure, I own some cryptocurrency. I don't own enough Bitcoin to count, sadly. I own some other things. I haven't done great. I'll leave it there. But I love the idea. Love the concept of the blockchain. I'm all in. A centralized currency, digital currency from the federal government? Absolutely not. They have no right to know what I move on anything. And if you move to a fully digital currency, wait till they tie the digital currency with your digital health records and decide you're overweight. You can't buy that candy bar. Literally, your chip won't work. You don't think that's going to happen? You have more faith in government than I do. More to get to. I'm Tony Katz. We got Carol Markowitz coming up and Carrie Pickett from the White House. This is Tony Katz today. Let's bring her back. Let's see what else she has to say.
Files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and they concluded what they found in that memo, which they drafted and they released. And so the president has been transparent. He has followed through on his promises to the American people. But he doesn't like to see Democrats and the mainstream media covering this like it's the biggest story that the American people care about. The president has been working so hard this week. On Tuesday, he went to Pennsylvania, where he secured $90 billion in investments for the Commonwealth, for the people of that state. After that, he came back to the Oval Office at 8 p.m. He went in there to whip votes to get the Genius Act signed into law. And because of his efforts, that bill is now going to be signed and passed. The following day, yesterday, he meets with a foreign leader, the King of Bahrain, to secure more investments into this country. And then yesterday afternoon, the president is in the East Room of the White House mourning with parents who have lost their children because of fentanyl, signing a bipartisan piece of legislation. And not a single cable network in this country took that event live and covered that event like they should. Those are the issues the president cares about. What could be more important to the American people than helping families who have lost their children? Those are the issues this president is going to remain focused on.
I understand he wants to move on from this story, but you do have some prominent figures, including the Senate Majority Leader, the House Speaker, voicing support for the files to come out.
Right.
Representative Massey collecting signatures that would force a discharge petition for a vote on the floor for this. It doesn't seem to be going away. What is stopping the administration from just redacting any sensitive information, grand jury information, and putting out what is appropriate so that the American people can decide and then let this story die?
Well, in terms of redactions or grand jury seals, those are questions for the Department of Justice. Those are also questions for the judges who have that information under a seal. And that would have to be requested, and a judge would have to approve it. That's out of the president's control. He has said, in agreement with some of the leaders on Capitol Hill, that if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice come across any other credible evidence, they should provide that to the American people. The president has said that, and he agrees with them on that.
And why in the world would you say that somehow we're past supporters? Remember, the president created this issue and didn't need to. And I'm sorry that she has to go through this and spin this. But this was their bungling from word go.
Sort of either let this go or we don't need your support.
Well, look, the president and this team are always in contact with the president's supporters, with voices of many kinds on both sides of the aisle. I think that's part of the reason this president is a great president, because he's willing to listen and hear other people's perspectives. But ultimately, he has led this country, not just over the past 6 months to historic success, but also through his first 4 years as president. And as the leader and the creator of the MAGA movement, he has led through these perilous times for our country based on instinct and in the best interest of the country. And as I always say, the American people should trust in President Trump. John, go ahead, John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. The president on Monday announced that if there's not compliance with Russia within 50 days, there would be increased tariffs. Can you explain how that works? First of all, what happens if Russia doesn't end its war with Ukraine in 50 days?
Well, in 50 days, as the president clearly laid out, if there is not a ceasefire agreement or a peace deal within that time frame, if Russia refuses 50 days, as the president clearly laid out, if there is not a ceasefire agreement or a peace deal within that time frame, if Russia refuses to legitimately agree to a ceasefire, then they will face very steep tariffs and they will also face secondary sanctions.
They don't care. And I'm not saying that the president is wrong. I'm just saying they won't care. The only thing Putin's going to respond to is force. End of list. Guys, I appreciate you being here. I really and truly do. I got to run from the stream. You can find everything at WIBC.com, and you should go listen to my conversation with Karl Markowitz of the New York Post, my conversation with Kerry Pickett of the Washington Times on some of these Epstein things, what matters, what doesn't, what is the White House doing, how is it communicating these things. Mistakes were made. That's all. That's all. And the argument of it's keeping us from discussing the wins, I think that's why Karoline Leavitt went out there the way she did, and there are tremendous wins. This was just a mistake. You should have just let the information out, the information that you can. You shouldn't have been, it doesn't matter. That you insulted supporters and then told them they're not really supporters if they're not listening to you. Nope. The idea that we should have trust in President Trump? Oh, sure. Sure. Absolutely. But we're the ones in charge. I keep reminding everybody of that. We're the ones in charge. Guys, I appreciate you very much. I will catch you tomorrow. All right? Sounds fantastic. Take care.